They will say I am mad for writing this. They will say the words themselves are corruption, that to describe what I have witnessed is to invite damnation. Perhaps they are right. But if even one soul reads this and understands what we endured, what we resisted, then my execution will have purpose. I was born on Vorgast. I will die on Vorgast. But the world that bore me no longer exists except in memory, and the world that will claim me is something that should not exist at all. This is the chronicle of survival on a demon world. This is the testimony of those who remain human in a realm where humanity itself is an act of rebellion. The Emperor protects. He must. Because nothing else will. Part 1. The last city time does not flow correctly on Vorgast anymore. Sometimes a day lasts an hour. Sometimes it stretches across what feels like weeks. The chrono devices all disagree with each other, and we've stopped trying to synchronize them. Instead, we mark time by shifts, by sleep cycles, by the count of how many we've lost. My name is Hadrian Voke. I was a medici orderly in Hive Primus before the fall. Now I am something between a doctor, a priest, and an executioner. The roles blur on a demon world. I live in what we call the last city, though it is neither last nor truly a city. It is the Iron Cathedral, a fortress monastery that once housed 3 companies of the Ecclesiarchy's Frateries militia. When Vorgast fell to the warp, when reality itself began to bleed and twist, these walls held. The faith concentrated here, the prayers spoken for centuries, the martyrs' bones interred in the catacombs. Something about this place remained solid when everything else became negotiable. 7,312 souls shelter here. I know because I count them during my rounds. Every day I count. Not because headquarters requires it, there is no headquarters. No chain of command beyond what we've improvised. But because the moment I stop counting individual lives, the moment they become mere numbers, that's when I've lost my humanity. That's when the demon world has won. I wake to the sound of hymns. Not the soaring, beautiful hymns of the imperial cult as it's meant to be practiced, but hoarse, desperate chanting, words repeated until they lose meaning and become pure sound, pure defiance. The morning prayer shifts began after we lost the Eastern Ward. 300 voices chanting the litany of protection. Their faith is a weapon here. Faith is the only weapon that matters. I perform my own ritual, the check. First, I examine my hands. 10 fingers, no mutations, no extra joints, no eyes growing in my palms. The skin is scarred from chemical burns and rough from manual labor, but it's human skin. Second, I recite my name, my rank, my purpose. Hadrian Voke, medici orderly, 3rd class. I serve the Emperor by preserving his subjects. If I can remember who I am, I remain who I am. The warp respects conviction. Third, I check my Iron Rosarius, the symbol of the Aquila, blessed by a confessor before the fall, worn against my skin. It's hot to the touch, always hot, as if burning from within. That heat means it's working, holding back the influence that presses against the cathedral's walls like a living thing. Finally, I count the scratches on the wall beside my cot, 1 for each day I believe has passed. I've stopped trusting the count around Mark 700. The scratches themselves sometimes multiply or vanish when I'm not looking, but the act of counting matters more than the accuracy. I am human. I remain human. The Emperor protects. The Iron Cathedral is divided into wards, each one a layer of defense against the corruption pressing in from all sides. Understanding the wards is understanding survival. The Sanctum Core is the innermost ward, built around the cathedral's original chapel. Here the faith burns brightest. Here demons cannot manifest, not because they lack power, but because reality still remembers what it should be. Children are kept here, along with the elderly, the pregnant, and those most vulnerable to warp predation. It is the closest thing to safety that exists on Vorgast. I visit the sanctum every morning. Sister Agatha, one of 3 surviving battle sisters of the Order of the Ebon Chalice, oversees this ward. She stands eternal vigil, her power armor scorched black by warp fire, her faith unshakable. Medic evoke. She greets me. Her voice is hoarse from constant prayer. Sister, I respond. Any manifestations overnight? 2 attempted breaches. The wards held. 3 children reported nightmares of the blood god's servants. Standard sedation protocols applied. Standard sedation protocols. What a phrase for what we actually do. We dose children with blessed water and recite prayers until they stop screaming about what they saw in their dreams. We tell them the Emperor protects, and we hope they believe us more than we believe ourselves. I examine the children who had nightmares. Sven, 7 years old, son of a former enforcer. His eyes are clear, pupils normal size. No signs of possession. I press my rosarius to his forehead and watch for reaction. He winces at the heat but doesn't recoil. Good. If he were tainted, the contact would cause agony. You're going to be fine, I tell him. It might even be true. The industrial ward is where we maintain what passes for infrastructure. Generators burning promethium that somehow still arrives via supply convoys that shouldn't exist. Water reclamation systems purifying liquid from sources we try not to think about. Air scrubbers working overtime against an atmosphere that's more concept than gas. Engineer Malachi runs this ward. He's one of 5 Adeptus Mechanicus survivors from the Forge Temple that once dominated Vorgast's southern continent. Half his body is augmetic, which should make him vulnerable to demonic corruption. Demons love to pervert machinery, but his devotion to the machine god provides its own protection. Omnissiah's blessings. Medici. He greets me in binaric cant, his voice synthesized and modulated. How are the generators? Functioning at 73% efficiency. I have performed the proper rituals. Applied the sacred unguents. The machine spirits remain loyal. He pauses. For now. The conditional phrase of demon world survival. I help him inventory supplies. We have 6 months of promethium if rationed strictly. We have 3 months of water filtration membranes. We have maybe 2 weeks of morale before people start making bad decisions. The outer wall generators, Malachi says quietly. They're showing signs of mutation. My blood chills. Machine mutation? The casings are growing protrusions. Organic protrusions. The machine spirits scream in binary. He makes the sign of the cog. I perform the rites of exorcism daily, but I do not know how long they will hold. If we lose the generators, we lose the void shields. If we lose the void shields, we lose everything. Keep performing the rites, I tell him. I'll inform the council. The agricultural ward is perhaps the most disturbing. We grow food here, we have to, but nothing grows naturally on a demon world. The plants we cultivate are wrong. Vegetables that whisper when you harvest them, grain that sometimes screams when milled, protein vats that occasionally produce meat with teeth. Agronomist Chen supervises this nightmare. She was a simple farmer before the fall, growing corpse starch and hive secundus. Now she's a specialist in keeping food from eating us first. Morning, Hadrian, she says without looking up from her work. She's examining a crate of tubers that are weeping something that might be sap or might be blood. Morning. Are those safe? Safe is a strong word. Edible? Probably. They'll keep people alive, which is what matters. She marks the crate with a blessing seal. Boil them 3 times, drain the water, bless each serving. That usually works, Another conditional. We lost 2 hydroponics bays yesterday, she adds. The plants became aware, started reaching for the workers. We had to burn it all. Casualties? 1 Marcus Hall, the plants got him before we could intervene. She closes her eyes. He's in the furnace now. Full rites. His ashes will be interred with honor. I make a note. Another name for the memorial wall. Another soul who died human. The defense ward is where our soldiers live. 230 fighting men and women, drawn from every branch of Imperial service. Former guardsmen, enforcers, fraterist militia, even a handful of penal legionnaires who chose to fight rather than flee. They man the walls, patrol the perimeter, and kill anything that tries to breach our defenses. Commander Thrace, former guard colonel, oversees military operations. He's a scarred veteran of 40 years' service, and Vorgast is his last posting. Medicae, he greets me in the defense bunker. Here for the morning casualty report? Among other things, he hands me a data slate. The casualty list is mercifully short. 2 wounded, 1 from a manifestation on the eastern wall, 1 from a training accident. No deaths overnight, we're holding, Thrace says, but ammunition is becoming critical. We're down to 40% capacity on small arms, 20% on heavy weapons. If we face a major incursion, he doesn't finish. He doesn't need to. What about melee weapons? I ask, plentiful. We've been forging blades blessed by the Confessor, cold iron, blessed water, the whole ritual package. They work better than bullets against demons anyway. He shows me a sword, simple but functional. We're training everyone in basic combat, even the children old enough to hold a blade. Training children to fight demons. The absurdity would be laughable if it weren't necessary. How long can we hold, Commander? He looks at me with eyes that have seen too much. As long as we have to, Medicae. Because there's nowhere else to run. Once a week, or what we approximate as a week, the council convenes. It's not a formal body, not really. Just the heads of each ward and a few others gathered to coordinate survival. Today's meeting is in the chapel, held before the altar of the God Emperor. His icon watches over us, a massive golden aquila. That's one of the few things in the cathedral that hasn't changed since the present Sister Agatha, Sanctum Cor, Enginseer Malachi, Industrial Ward, Agronomist Chen, Agricultural, Ward Commander Thrace, Defense Ward, Confessor Wilhelm, Spiritual, Authority, and myself, Medical. Services. Confessor Wilhelm opens with prayer. He's an old man, ancient by Vorgast standards, his body sustained more by faith than physiology. His voice cracks but carries power. Emperor of mankind, Master of Terra, Lord of the Imperium, we beseech your protection. We who remain loyal in the darkness, we who bear your light in the realm of shadow, grant us strength to endure. Grant us wisdom to resist. Grant us courage to remain human. The Emperor protects and we respond in unison. Wilhelm nods, reports, and Sister Agatha goes first. The Sanctum Core remains secure. 3 attempted possessions last night. All successfully resisted. We're implementing additional prayer rotations. The children are adapting. Too well, perhaps. I worry what this environment is doing to their development. They're alive, Chen says flatly. That's development enough. Agreed, Malachi chimes in with his mechanical voice. Survival is the primary parameter. All other metrics are secondary. Wilhelm raises a hand. We must not sacrifice humanity to preserve human life. Sister Agatha's concern is valid. These children are the future if we have a future. We must ensure they remember what it means to be human, to be imperial, to be faithful. I speak up. From a medical perspective, the children show signs of stress-related disorders. Nightmares, anxiety, hypervigilance. But given the circumstances, these are normal responses to an abnormal situation. What concerns me more are the adults. We're seeing increasing rates of despair, hopelessness, suicidal ideation. The warp feeds on despair. Sister Agatha notes, despair opens the door to corruption. Which is why we must maintain hope, Wilhelm says. Even false hope is better than no hope at all. False hope is a lie, Thrace counters. Our people aren't children. They know our situation. Lying to them will only breed resentment. Then we give them true hope, Wilhelm insists. Hope in the Emperor. Hope in deliverance. Hope that our suffering has meaning. Does it? Chen asks quietly. Does any of this have meaning? We're 7,000 people on a world claimed by the warp. No rescue is coming. No fleet will brave a demon world to save us. We're already dead. We're just taking a long time to finish dying. The silence that follows is profound. Finally, I speak. Then we find meaning in the dying. We choose how we die. We die human, we die faithful, we die unbroken. That's the meaning. That's what separates us from them. Wilhelm smiles sadly. Well said, Medicae. Though I pray it doesn't come to that. We all pray it doesn't come to that. But we all know it will. After the council, I perform my most important duty. I walk the outer wall. The outer wall marks the boundary between the Iron Cathedral and the demon world beyond. It's not just a physical barrier. It's reinforced with faith, warded with prayers, blessed by every confessor and priest who's passed through here. It holds not because of the stone and ceramite, but because 7,000 people believe it holds. Belief is reality on a demon world. Never forget that. I stand on the rampart and look out at what Vorgast has become. The sky is wrong. It shifts between colors that have no names, patterns that hurt to perceive. There are no stars, no sun, no moon, just a roiling membrane between the materium and the warp, constantly tearing and healing, tearing and healing. The land is worse. What was once an industrial hive world is now a landscape of impossible geometry, buildings that extend in directions that don't exist, roads that loop through themselves, towers made of screaming faces, forests of crystallized pain, and everywhere the demons, they come in every form. Some are the classic manifestations, bloodletters of Korn, horrors of Tzeentch, plague-bearers of Nurgle, demonettes of Slanesh. Others are lesser things, nameless warp spawn that defy categorization. But worst are the transformed, the people of Vorgast who didn't reach sanctuary, who were caught in the open when the warp storm broke, who were changed, corrupted, remade into things that wear the faces of loved ones while serving dark gods. I see one now, shambling in the distance. It might have been human once. It's roughly humanoid in shape, but its limbs are too long, its movements too fluid, and its head splits open vertically to reveal rows of eyes where a mouth should be. It sees me. It waves. For a moment, just a moment, I recognize the gesture, the particular tilt of the hand, the rhythm of the wave. Someone I knew, someone from before. Then it's gone, melting back into the twisted landscape, and I'm left wondering if I actually recognized it, or if the demon world was just messing with me. Both possibilities are equally terrifying. They're getting bolder, a voice says beside me. I turn. It's Sergeant Caney, one of Thrace's officers. She's a veteran of the Cadian Gate campaigns, which means she's seen horrors that would break most people. But even she looks haunted here. The manifestations are increasing, she continues. 2 weeks ago they'd stay back, probe our defenses, test the wards. Now they're practically up to the wall. They're learning we're running low on ammunition. Then we prepare for melee combat. Already doing that. But Hadrian... She looks at me with eyes that have seen too much. What happens when they breach? Because they will breach. Eventually. Whether it's a year from now or a day from now, they'll find a weakness and exploit it. What happens then? I don't have a good answer, so I give her an honest one instead. Then we fight. We die, we make them pay for every inch, and we ensure that when we fall human. She nods slowly. The Emperor protects. The Emperor protects, I echo. We stand together on the wall. Two humans staring into the abyss, knowing the abyss is staring back, knowing it will eventually consume us, but not today. Part 2. The Transformed. Not everyone in the Iron Cathedral is a survivor of the fall. Some came after. Some chose to come here. Father Dimitri is one of them. He arrived 3 months ago, or what we believe was 3 months ago, emerging from the demon-infested wasteland like a ghost. He carried nothing but a staff, a rosarius, and a burning conviction that the Emperor had sent him to us. At first we thought he was transformed, thought it was a trick, a demon wearing human skin to infiltrate our defenses. We nearly shot him. Sister Agatha stopped us. She looked into his eyes and saw something. Faith, she said. Pure, uncorrupted faith. We brought him inside, tested him, exposed him to blessed silver, holy water, prayer. He showed no signs of corruption. He was human. Impossibly against all logic, he had crossed a demon world and remained human. How? I asked him during his medical examination. How did you survive out there? He smiled. It was a sad smile, the smile of a man who's seen things he can never unsee. I walked in faith, Mediki. I recited the Emperor's prayer with every step. I did not look upon the demons, did not acknowledge their existence. To acknowledge them is to give them power. I walked as if I were still on holy Terra itself, and so I remained. That's impossible. On a demon world, Medicaid, belief defines possibility. I believed I was protected, therefore I was protected. I wanted to dismiss it as madness. But he was here. He was human. The evidence was undeniable. Father Dimitri has become one of our most valuable assets. He leads prayer services, counsels the despairing, and most importantly, he ventures outside. Yes. Outside. Once a week, he walks out into the demon world to search for survivors. He always returns. He doesn't always return alone. I accompany him today. Against all reason, against all instinct for self-preservation, I'm going outside the walls. We prepare in the chapel. Full ritual purification, anointing with blessed oils, prayers to the Emperor. Sister Agatha herself blesses our mission. You don't have to do this, she tells me quietly. Father Dimitri is special, protected, you are not. There are people out there, I reply. People who might be saved. That's my duty. Your duty is to the survivors here. My duty is to all who remain human. She nods slowly. Then go with the Emperor's blessing. Return with it as well. Father Dimitri and I stand at the gate. Commander Thrace has assembled a team to open it. A dangerous operation in itself. Opening the gate, even briefly, risks allowing manifestations to slip through. Remember the rules, Dimitri tells me. Keep your rosarius against your skin. Recite the litany of protection continuously. Do not make eye contact with any demon. Do not respond if they speak to you. Do not acknowledge them. They are not real. They are lies given form. Treat them as such. I nod. My mouth is dry. The gate opens. The sound that pours in defies description. It's not just noise, it's the auditory equivalent of wrongness. Screaming that sounds like laughter. Music made from breaking bones, silence that somehow drowns out everything else. We step through. The gate slams shut behind us. We're alone in hell. Walking through a demon world is an exercise in controlled insanity. You must remain aware enough to navigate dangers, but detached, enough to not comprehend what you're actually perceiving. Father Dimitri walks with his head high, eyes focused straight ahead, lips moving in constant prayer. I follow his example, though my prayers are less eloquent. Mostly I just repeat, "The Emperor protects," until the words lose meaning and become pure sound. The landscape shifts around us. One moment we're walking through ruins of recognizable buildings. The next, we're wading through a sea of hands reaching up from the ground. Then we're climbing stairs that extend into a sky that's made of eyes. None of it is real. All of it is real. Reality is negotiable here. I catch glimpses of demons in my peripheral vision. A bloodletter stalking us from behind a twisted column. A flock of furies circling overhead. Something massive and tentacled lurking in what used to be a transit station. They don't attack. Not yet. They're curious. They're studying us. Two humans walking through their domain without fear, without acknowledgement, without submission. It confuses them. Confusion is our armor. We walk for what feels like hours but might be minutes. Time is meaningless. Distance is subjective. We navigate by faith rather than geography. Then Father Dimitri stops. "There," he says simply. I look where he's pointing. At first, I see nothing. Then I notice it. A flicker of normalcy. A patch of reality that's stubbornly refusing to transform. A small building, maybe a maintenance shed or storage unit that still looks like it belongs in the Imperium. There are survivors inside, Dimitri says with certainty. How do you know? Because there's a reason that building hasn't transformed. Someone inside is believing it real. Someone inside has faith. We approach carefully. The door is barricaded from within. Dimitri knocks 3 times, pause, twice more. The knock pattern of the Imperial Creed. For a long moment, nothing. Then slowly, the barricade shifts. The door cracks open. Eyes peer out. Human eyes. Terrified but sane. "We're from the Iron Cathedral," Dimitri says gently. "We've come to bring you home." "Home?" a voice whispers. Male, young, disbelieving. "There's no home anymore. There's just this." "There is sanctuary," I say, speaking for the first time since we left. "There are 7,000 souls who remain human. You don't have to face this alone." Another pause. Then the door opens fully. Inside are 4 people. 2 adults. 2 children. They're filthy, malnourished, traumatized, but they're alive, they're human. "Can you walk?" I ask. The man nods. "We can walk. We can run if we have to." Then we leave now. Before the demons realize what we're doing. The journey back is worse than the journey out. Now we have 4 additional people who aren't trained in warp walking, who can't help but acknowledge the horrors around them, who react with normal human fear to the impossible. Their fear draws attention. The demons close in. A demonette manifests. Directly in front of us, all sinuous grace and hypnotic beauty and claws that could gut a man in seconds. It smiles with too many teeth. Fleeing. It purrs. But we've only just begun to play. Father Dimitri doesn't break stride. He walks directly toward it. Through it. As if it weren't there. The demon flickers. Destabilizes. Caught off guard by the sheer audacity of denial. I follow his example, keeping the survivors moving. "Don't look at it, don't acknowledge it, it's not real." "It's right there," one of the children shrieks. "It's a lie," I snap. "The only truth is the Emperor. Focus on that." A bloodletter charges from the side. This one is harder to ignore. It's physical in a way the demonette wasn't, all brass and fury and blades dripping with blood that's never dried. Dmitri raises his staff. In the name of the Emperor, I deny you. The bloodletter crashes into nothing. An invisible wall of faith. It roars in frustration, hacking at the barrier with its hellblade. We keep moving. More demons manifest. Dozens. Hundreds. They swarm around us like sharks circling prey. But they don't attack. They can't. As long as we deny them, as long as we refuse to accept their reality, they remain powerless. The wall of the Iron Cathedral appears through the chaos. We're close. So close. Then one of the survivors, the woman, makes a mistake. She looks directly at a horror, a writhing mass of colors and impossible mathematics. She looks and she comprehends and she screams. The scream breaks her faith, breaks her denial, opens her to possession. Her body convulses. Colors that shouldn't exist pour from her eyes, her mouth, her ears. She's transforming. Right in front of us, right in front of her family. She's becoming something else. No. The man lunges for her. I grab him. It's too late. She's gone. That's my wife. She was your wife. Now she's something wearing her face. Let her go, or you'll join her. It's the cruelest thing I've ever said, but it's necessary. He sobs, but doesn't resist as Father Dmitri pulls him away. The children are crying. The thing that was their mother is screaming in languages that predate human speech. We reach the gate. It opens. We fall through. Behind us, the demon world laughs. I examine the survivors in the medic ward. Physical, condition, severe malnutrition, dehydration, multiple infections. Mental condition, severe trauma but intact. Human, the man, his name is Victor, sits beside his children. They're both sleeping finally, sedated and blessed and safe. I couldn't save her, he whispers. You saved them, I reply, gesturing to the children. That's what she would have wanted. How do you know what she would have wanted? You didn't know her. I know she was human. I know she had children. That's enough. Every human parent wants the same thing, for their children to survive, to have a chance, to have a future. I pause. You gave her that. You brought them here. You kept them human. He looks at me with eyes that will never fully heal. Is this really survival? Or are we just taking longer to die? I don't have a good answer. So I give him the only truth I know. We're human. As long as we remain human, we're surviving. Everything else is just details. Part 3. The breaking. It starts with small things. It always does. Engine Seer Malachi reports that the machine spirits in the generatorium are becoming difficult. They respond to the proper rituals but with increasing reluctance, as if they're being influenced by something external. Agronomist Chen finds that the food stores are developing properties they shouldn't have. Rations that cause vivid dreams. Water that tastes like memory. Protein bars that whisper secrets to those who consume them. Commander Thrace notes that the demons have stopped probing our defenses. They've pulled back from the walls entirely. They're waiting for something. Sister Agatha reports increasing incidents of possession attempts in the Sanctum Core. The children are having worse nightmares. The elderly are hearing voices. The pregnant woman in Block 7 gave birth to something that had to be immediately destroyed. Confessor. Wilhelm's prayers are becoming desperate, and I notice that I'm having to check myself more frequently, having to remind myself of my name, my purpose, my humanity, more often than I used to. The Iron Cathedral is failing, not dramatically, not all at once, but slowly, incrementally, like a fortress wall developing microfractures that will eventually lead to collapse. We're running out of time. Wilhelm calls an emergency council session. His face is gray, his hands trembling. The wards are weakening, he announces without preamble. The prayers that have protected us for 5 years are losing their efficacy. The faith that sustained us is depleting. Explain, Sister Agatha demands. Faith is not infinite. Wilhelm says heavily. It must be renewed, reinforced, rejuvenated. For 5 years we've been spending our spiritual reserves without replenishment. We've been burning through hope without generating new hope. We're running empty. What does that mean practically? Thrace asks. It means, Malachi interjects, that the probability of catastrophic ward failure increases exponentially with each passing solar rotation. At current rates, we have approximately 30 days before the sanctum core itself becomes vulnerable to demonic manifestation. 30 days. 1 month. Chen laughs bitterly. So that's it? 5 years of struggle and we get 1 more month. Unless we can renew the faith, Wilhelm says. Unless we can give people a reason to hope again. And how do you propose we do that? I ask. What hope can we possibly offer? We all know we're doomed. Pretending otherwise is just denial. Denial has kept us alive, Father Dimitri speaks up. He's been sitting silently, but now he leans forward. We've survived by denying the demon world's reality, by insisting on our own reality instead. If we give up that denial, if we accept our doom, then we've already lost. He's right, Sister Agatha says. Hope is a weapon, even false hope, even desperate hope. As long as people believe deliverance is possible, they'll maintain the faith that protects them. Then we lie to them, Thrace asks incredulously. We tell them rescue is coming when we know it isn't. We tell them the truth, Wilhelm says firmly. The truth that the Emperor protects, that faith is rewarded, that suffering has meaning. These things are true even if deliverance never comes. Are they? Chen challenges. Are they true? Or are they just stories we tell ourselves to make the horror bearable? The question hangs in the air. Finally, I speak. Does it matter? If the stories keep us human, if they give us strength to resist, if they prevent us from becoming like the transformed, then they're true enough. Wilhelm nods. We need a grand gesture. Something to renew hope. Something to remind our people why they fight. A miracle, Malachi says flatly. You're asking for a miracle. Yes, Wilhelm agrees. That's exactly what I'm asking for. Father Dimitri has an idea. It's insane, suicidal, and probably heretical, which means it might just work. There's a shrine, he says. 30 kilometers from here. The shrine of St. Cassia the Unyielding. She was martyred during the Third Vorgas Crusade. Her remains interred there. It's a site of pilgrimage, of miracles. If we could reach it, retrieve her relics, bring them back here. The faith of an actual saint would renew the wards, Wilhelm finishes. Would give our people tangible proof of the Emperor's protection. It's 30 kilometers through a demon world, Thrace says flatly. That's a death sentence. Then we die, Dimitri replies simply. But we die trying. We die reaching for salvation rather than waiting for damnation. Sister Agatha stands. I will go. This is exactly the mission my order trained me for. I'll go too, I hear myself say. Everyone turns to look at me. I'm surprised to hear my own voice. You'll need a medici, someone to tend wounds, to perform emergency blessings, to document what happens if none of us return. Thrace sighs. If you're going on a suicide mission, you'll need soldiers. I'll assemble a team. Over the next day we prepare. 10 people will make the pilgrimage. Sister Agatha, Father Dimitri, Commander Thrace, 5 of his best soldiers, myself, and 1 surprise volunteer. Victor. The man we rescued. The man who lost his wife. I have to, he tells me when I question his sanity. I have to do something. Something that matters. Something that might save my children. I can't argue with that. We leave at what passes for dawn. 7,000 people gather to watch us go. Children, elderly, soldiers, workers. All of them silent. All of them knowing they might never see us again. Confessor Wilhelm blesses us before the gate. His hands shake as he makes the sign of the Aquila over each of us. Walk with the Emperor, he says. Return with his blessing. And if you do not return, know that you died in his service, and that is glory enough. The gate opens. We step into damnation. The first hour is the worst. Your mind hasn't yet adapted to the wrongness. Every instinct screams at you to run, to flee, to curl up and shut your eyes until it all goes away. But retreat is death. Hesitation is death. Only forward momentum, only faith, only the absolute conviction that you remain real while the demon world is the lie. Only that keeps you human. We move in a tight formation. Sister Agatha at the front, her storm bolter blessed and loaded with sanctified rounds. Father Dimitri beside her, staff in hand, lips moving in constant prayer. Thrace and his soldiers form a protective square around Victor and me. Everyone's rosarius burns against their skin. The landscape shifts with each step. We walk through ruins that might have been familiar once. I recognize the skeletal remains of what was Hive Secundus's transit hub. Then we're wading through a forest of cables that bleed when cut. Then we're crossing a bridge made of crystallized screams. None of it matters. None of it is real. We deny it all and keep moving. The demons watch. They always watch. A murder of fury circles overhead. Bloodletters pace us from parallel streets. Something that might be a great unclean one squats in the distance, its bulk too massive to fully perceive. But they don't attack. Not yet. They're waiting, learning, studying this group of humans who dare to traverse their realm. Contact. One of the soldiers, Corporal Venn, calls out. I follow her gaze. Something is approaching from the east. Human-shaped but wrong. Transformed. It shambles closer and I recognize the gait, the posture. My blood turns to ice. It's wearing my face, not just similar. Not just resembling. It is my face, my body, my features, perfectly replicated. The thing that was once someone who looked like me stops 20 meters away and smiles. Hadrian, it says in my voice. Why do you run? Why do you struggle? Accept the gift. Accept the change. It doesn't hurt once you stop resisting. I want to look away. Every fiber of my being screams to look away. But I force myself to meet its eyes, my eyes, and speak. You're not real. You're a lie wearing a familiar shape. I deny you, it laughs. Do you? Do you really? Because I remember being you. I remember the Medici training. The shifts in Hive Primus the moment the warp storm broke. I remember everything you remember. So which of us is the lie, Hadrian? Which of us is real? The Emperor protects, I whisper. Does he? The thing spreads its arms. Look around. Does this look like protection to you? 7,000 people huddling in a fortress, dying slowly, waiting for the inevitable. That's not protection. That's prolonged suffering. Sister Agatha raises her storm bolter. Step away from us, warp spawn. Or what? Whatever it is, grins wider. You'll shoot me, go ahead. I'll just come back. We always come back. You can't kill us because we're not alive. We're ideas given form, thoughts made flesh, and you can't kill a thought. Father Dimitri's voice cuts through. In the name of the God Emperor of mankind, I cast you out. You are nothing. You are shadow. You are the absence of light. Be gone. The thing flickers, destabilizes but doesn't vanish. Prayers, it hisses, always prayers. But prayers require faith, and your faith is running empty. I can smell it. You're all dying inside slowly, like flowers cut from the root. How much longer can you keep believing? How much longer before Sister Agatha fires? The bolt shell takes the thing in the chest, detonates, blows it apart in a spray of matter that's not quite blood, not quite flesh. For a moment, silence, then laughter. From everywhere and nowhere, the thing reforms, pulling itself together from scattered pieces. See? It says cheerfully. Can't kill a thought. Then we ignore you, I say firmly. You don't exist. You're nothing. We walk forward, through it, past it, denying its reality with each step. Behind us, I hear it whisper one last time. But I'll always be here, Hadrian. Whenever you doubt, whenever you question, I'll be waiting. We reach the shrine of St. Cassia at what might be noon. Time has become even more fluid the deeper we travel into the demon world. The shrine has held. Barely. The structure is intact, though the architecture has become fluid. The walls breathe. The floor pulses. The stained glass windows show scenes that change depending on who's looking at them. But the sanctum itself, the chamber where the saints' relics are kept, remains pure. We can feel it from outside, a pocket of stability, a bubble of reality maintained by centuries of faith. Someone's in there, Thrace says, his auspex showing heat signatures. We approach cautiously. The doors are barricaded from within, just like the maintenance shed where we found Victor and his family. Father Dimitri knocks. 3 times, pause, twice more, silence. Then, go away. We don't need rescuing. A woman's voice. Harsh. Defiant. We're not here to rescue you. Dimitri calls back. We're here for the saints' relics. We need them to save the Iron Cathedral. The Iron Cathedral? The voice sounds surprised. That place is still standing? For now. But not for much longer. The wards are failing. The relics might renew them. Another pause. Then the sound of barricades being moved. The door cracks open, a woman peers out. She's young, maybe mid-20s, but her eyes are ancient. She wears the tattered remains of what might have been ecclesiarchy robes. Behind her I can see others. A dozen people, maybe more, all sheltering in the shrine's sanctum. I'm Deacon Marisa, she says. I was assistant to the high priest when she nods. The saint protects. As long as we maintain the vigil, as long as we pray without fall came. We've been here ever since. 5 years? I ask incredulously, ceasing this place holds, but... She hesitates. We're tired, so tired. Some have already given up. Walked out into the demon world. We couldn't stop them. How many of you are left? 9, down from 37. 9 people maintaining a vigil for 5 years. 9 people keeping faith alive through constant prayer. The mental and spiritual exhaustion must be unimaginable. We need to take the relics, Sister Agatha says gently. They're needed at the Iron Cathedral. 7,000 souls depend on them. Marissa's face crumples. If you take them, this place will fall. Will fall. We've held on because of her presence. Without the relics, the math is cruel. 9 lives against 7,000. The choice should be obvious. But I see the faces of the people behind Marissa. See their hope, their desperation, their faith. They've survived by clinging to the saints' protection. Take that away and they'll crumble within hours. Take them, Marissa says finally. Take the relics. Save the 7,000 She swallows hard. We knew this wasn't forever. We knew eventually we'd have to sacrifice. At least let our deaths mean something. No, Victor speaks up suddenly. Everyone turns to look at him. No more sacrifices. We bring them with us. We can't protect 14 people on the return journey, Thrace says flatly. It was already risky with 10. Then we make it work, Victor insists. We don't abandon people who've kept faith. We don't repay their loyalty with death. He's right, I find myself saying. The salamanders wouldn't leave them. The Imperial Creed teaches that every soul matters. If we sacrifice 9 to save 7,000, what does that say about what we're fighting for? Sister Agatha looks at me, then at Victor, then at the exhausted deacon and her followers. Finally she nods. We bring them all. The Emperor will provide. Marissa's eyes fill with tears. Thank you. Emperor bless you. Thank you. 19 people crossing a demon world. It's madness. It's impossible it works, not because we're skilled, not because we're lucky, but because something shifts in the journey back. The faith of Marissa and her people, combined with the physical presence of St. Cassia's relics, creates a bubble of stability around us. The demon world still presses in, still tests us, but it can't penetrate as easily. We move faster than before. The landscape seems to smooth out, become more navigable. The demons keep their distance as if the saint herself is warding them off. But nothing is free on a demon world. Every blessing has a cost. We're 3 kilometers from the Iron Cathedral when the attack comes, not from demons, from the transformed. A horde of them, hundreds, pouring from the ruins like insects from a disturbed nest. They're organized, coordinated, led by something that might once have been an Imperial commander. Defensive formation. Thrace roars. Protect the relics. We form a circle. The soldiers open fire. Blessed rounds tear through corrupted flesh. Sister Agatha's Stormbolter roars, each shell detonating in bursts of sanctified fury. Father Dimitri raises his staff and light pours from it. Real light, golden and pure, burning the transformed like acid. But there are too many. For every one we kill, 3 more take its place. I'm pulled into melee combat, my last pistol empty, forced to use a blessed knife against corrupted humans who were once my neighbors, my colleagues, my friends. Each kill is a small tragedy. Each death a reminder of what we've lost. Victor fights beside me. He's not trained, not a soldier, but desperation makes him effective. He stabs, slashes, screams defiance at the horde, then one of them gets through. A transformed child, can't be older than 10, slips past the defensive line and lunges at the reliquary containing St. Cassia's remains. Victor throws himself in the way. The child's claws, too sharp, too many, tear through his chest. He goes down hard, no! I scream, but Victor is smiling. Blood pours from his mouth as he speaks. My children are safe. That's enough. He dies. Human. Faithful. Protecting the relics that might save his children. The moment he falls, something happens. The reliquary blazes with light. Not metaphorical light. Actual physical, blinding radiance. It pours from the container, floods the battlefield, washes over the transformed horde. They scream. They burn. They dissolve like shadows at noon. In seconds, the entire horde is gone. Just ashes on the wind and the memory of their screams. We stand in the sudden silence, stunned. A miracle. Father Dimitri whispers. The saint answered his sacrifice. We gather Victor's body. We'll bring him home. He'll be interred in the cathedral's catacombs with full honors. His children will know their father died a hero. The gates of the Iron Cathedral open. We walk through, carrying the relics, carrying our dead, carrying hope. 7,000 voices rise in prayer and thanksgiving. Part 4. The vigil, the installation of St. Cassia's relics transforms the Iron Cathedral. Not physically, though even that begins to change, the walls becoming more solid, more real, but spiritually. Hope, that most precious commodity on a demon world, begins to bloom again. Confessor Wilhelm personally oversees the ceremony. The reliquary is placed in the chapel's central altar, surrounded by candles, guarded day and night by rotating shifts of the faithful. The moment it settles into place, everyone feels it. A strengthening of the wards, a pushing back of the corrupted influence, a reminder that the Emperor's light still reaches even into the darkest places. The nightmares that plague the children ease. The possession attempts decrease. The food stops whispering. The machines stop mutating. We've bought time. Maybe months. Maybe years. Maybe, if we're very lucky and very faithful, forever. But we all know the truth. Nothing lasts forever on a demon world. This is a reprieve, not a salvation. A rest between battles, not the end of the war. Still, a reprieve is worth celebrating. Victor's children, I've learned their names now, Asha and Mikhail, attend the memorial service. They stand before the image of their father that's been added to the cathedral's wall of heroes. Asha, the older at 11, speaks for both of them. Our father gave everything so that others might live, she says, her voice steady despite the tears on her face. He showed us what it means to be human, to sacrifice, to love more than you fear. We'll honor his memory by remaining as human as he was. 7,000 people stand in silence, bearing witness, remembering, honoring a man who was nobody special, just an ordinary father who became extraordinary when it mattered most. This is what we fight for. Not grand strategy, not imperial glory, just this. Ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Parents protecting children. Communities supporting each other. Humanity refusing to surrender its humanity. Months pass. The seasons, such as they are on a demon world, cycle through their impossible patterns. The Iron Cathedral endures. I've been promoted, if that's the right word. Confessor Wilhelm is dying, age and exhaustion finally claiming him, and he's asked me to take on more spiritual duties alongside my medical ones. I'm not a priest. I have no formal training in theology, but I understand the people here. I've suffered alongside them. That's qualification enough. Father Dmitri continues his missions outside the walls, bringing back survivors. We've added another 300 souls to our population. Each one is a small victory against the demon world. Sister Agatha trains new defenders. Not just soldiers, but anyone who can hold a weapon. Children as young as 10 learn basic combat. The elderly who can't fight learn to maintain weapons, to prepare blessed ammunition, to support the war effort however they can. Agronomist Chen has developed new techniques for food production that account for the corrupted environment. The food still tastes wrong, still sometimes has disturbing properties, but it keeps us alive. That's all that matters. Engineer Malachi reports that the generators have stabilized. The machine spirits, comforted by the saint's presence, have become cooperative again. We have power. We have heat. We have the basic infrastructure of civilization. And every day, every single day, we maintain the vigil. The prayers, the rituals, the constant affirmation of faith. It's exhausting. But it's necessary, because the demon world hasn't given up. It never gives up. It just adjusts its tactics. It starts with whispers. Always whispers. People begin reporting strange thoughts. Not their own thoughts, they insist, but thoughts that appear in their minds unbidden. Suggestions. Questions. Doubts. What if the Emperor has abandoned you? What if faith is just a story you tell yourselves? What if surrendering would end the suffering? What if the transformed are happier than you are? The whispers are insidious because they're not obviously evil. They don't command murder or blasphemy. They just question, they erode certainty. They plant seeds of doubt that, if left unchecked, blossom into corruption. We counter them with truth. Yes, we might be abandoned. Yes, faith might be a story. Yes, surrender would end the suffering. But we choose to believe anyway. We choose to maintain faith anyway. We choose to suffer rather than surrender because that's what it means to be human. The whispers don't stop. They just become background noise, part of the constant pressure of living on a demon world. Some can't handle it. We lose 3 people in 1 week. Suicides walking out into the wasteland, choosing oblivion over endurance. We mourn them. We honor them. We add their names to the memorial wall. And we continue. Confessor Wilhelm dies on a day that feels like spring, though Vorgast has no seasons anymore. He passes quietly, surrounded by those who loved him, his final words a prayer. Before he dies, he calls me to his bedside. Hadrian, he whispers, his voice barely audible. I need to confess, Father, I'm not a priest. I can't. You're close enough, please. I sit. I listen. I've lied to them, he says. For 5 years I've lied. I told them rescue would come, that the Emperor was watching, that their suffering had meaning. But I don't know if any of that's true. What if we're just forgotten? What if we're a rounding error in the Imperium's calculations? What if this is all meaningless? I take his hand. It's cold, fragile. Does it matter? I ask gently. Meaning is what we make of it. If your lies gave people strength to continue, if they helped people remain human, then they were true in the way that matters. You sound like a priest, he says with a ghost of a smile. I learn from the best. He squeezes my hand weakly. Promise me something. Promise you'll keep the lie alive. Keep telling them the Emperor protects. Keep telling them their suffering matters, even if it's not true. I promise. He dies with that promise in his ears. We bury him in the catacombs, in a place of honor among the heroes of the Iron Cathedral. And I keep his promise. Every day, every sermon, every council session, the Emperor protects. Have faith. Your suffering has meaning. I say it so often I almost believe it myself. It's been 7 years since the fall. Or 700, or 7 seconds stretched into eternity. Time has lost all meaning on Vorgast. I stand on the wall looking out at the demon world and I realize something. I'm not afraid anymore. Not of the demons, not of the corruption, not even of death. I've seen too much, endured too much. Fear has been burned out of me like impurities from metal. What remains is purpose. Simple, clear, unshakable purpose. I exist to preserve humanity. To keep 7,000 souls, more now with the rescues, as human as possible for as long as possible. That's my meaning. That's my choice. The demon world didn't make me this way. I chose it. Every morning when I check myself, when I count my fingers, when I recite my name and purpose. Every time I could surrender and don't. Every moment I choose humanity over the easy corruption of the warp. That's the secret the demons don't understand. The secret the chaos gods can't comprehend. They think humanity is weak because we can be corrupted. But they're wrong. Humanity's strength is that we can be corrupted and choose not to be. That we face the abyss every single day and decide to remain ourselves. We don't stay human because it's easy. We stay human because it's hard. Because it's a choice. Because every moment we maintain our humanity in the face of a universe trying to corrupt us is an act of defiance so profound that it shakes the foundations of reality itself. I hear footsteps behind me. It's Asha, Victor's daughter. She's 16 now, almost an adult by Iron Cathedral standards. She's become one of our best scouts, brave like her father. Medic evoke, she greets me. Just Hadrian is fine. Hadrian, then. She stands beside me, looking out at the madness beyond the walls. Do you think we'll ever be free? Will we ever see a normal sky again? I could lie. Tell her rescue is coming. That the Imperium will save us. That the Emperor has a plan. But I've learned that truth, even painful truth, is more valuable than comforting lies. I don't know, I tell her honestly. Maybe, maybe not. But either way, we remain human. We keep fighting. We keep choosing ourselves over what the demon world wants us to become. She nods slowly. My father said something similar. Before he died, he said that staying human was the only victory that mattered. He was right. Is that enough? Just staying human? Just surviving? I think about the question. About 7 years of suffering, of loss, of grinding daily horror. About 7,000 people who wake up every morning and choose to be human despite everything. Yes, I finally say. It's enough. Because in a galaxy that wants to grind us down, that wants to corrupt us, that wants to transform us into things we're not, maintaining our humanity is the greatest act of rebellion possible. The Emperor protects, she says softly. The Emperor protects, I echo. We stand together on the wall, two humans on a demon world, watching the madness swirl around our fortress of faith, knowing we might die tomorrow, knowing we probably will die eventually on this cursed world, but knowing too that we'll die human, that we'll die ourselves, that we'll die having chosen over and over and over again to be more than what the universe wanted us to become. That's the glory they never speak of in the Imperium's propaganda, not the glory of victory, of conquest, of dominion. The glory of simply remaining human in a universe designed to break you. The glory of surviving one more day. I don't know, I managed to say, though even my voice was changing, splitting into echoes of itself. Then, as suddenly as it began, the mirror shattered. Every fragment hung suspended in the air, orbiting around me like shards of a dying star. Through each fragment I saw different worlds, battlefields, temples, cities, all reflecting me. All the same, when it was over, I was standing alone. The chamber was in ruins. Lixithar was gone. Only the whisper remained. You are not their slave. You are not our vessel. You are the bridge. I stumbled back to my cell, though I knew it no longer mattered. There were no guards. The gates hung open. Outside Kamara roared with chaos. But beneath the sound I could hear the same pulse as before, deep and endless. Something had awakened. Not just within me. In the city itself. The streets of Kamara were in turmoil when I emerged from the depths. Alarms shrieked in the metallic skies, their tones rippling through the layered towers of obsidian and bone. I could feel the city breathing, as if every wall and every shadow knew what had changed. Where I stepped, the ground pulsed faintly, a vibration too subtle for the Drukhari to sense, but I could feel it in the marrow of my bones. The rhythm matched the pulse that had awakened in me. I walked through districts I had only glimpsed from afar, markets where souls were traded like coins, alleys where pain was sculpted into art. Those who saw me froze, their sneers fading into curiosity, then dread. My armor shimmered with faint geometric light, and the air around me bent ever so slightly like heat over metal. One Kabbalite warrior attempted to bar my path, leveling a splinter rifle at my chest. The weapon's charge flickered, then melted in his hands as his armor turned translucent. He screamed, clutching at himself as his body folded inward, dissolving into glass. I did not touch him. I had merely looked. Rumors spread faster than truth. Some called me a prophet of the homunculi. Others whispered that a shard of a dead god had taken form. But among the archons there was fear, the kind that runs deeper than politics or ambition. They felt the warp bleeding into their sanctuary, unraveling the illusions that had shielded them from its touch. I felt it too. The webway trembled. I could sense its corridors, those impossible paths between real space and unreality, quivering as if something vast was pressing against them from the other side. The whispers that haunted my dreams had grown louder, threading themselves into the machinery of my thoughts. They spoke in harmonies, a chorus of impossible geometry. You are the equation, they said. You are the proof that the flesh remembers its design. As I passed through a square lined with impaled prisoners, I caught my reflection again, not in glass but in the eyes of those who watched. They saw not a man, not even a monster, but an outline of light and shadow. I could feel them trying to comprehend me, their minds buckling against what they saw. Several collapsed where they stood, their bodies quivering as if their souls had been rewritten. When I reached Lixithar's domain, her warriors were already waiting. Rows of incubi stood in silence, their blades drawn but trembling. Behind them, the Archon herself appeared, her mask gone, her face pale and bare for the first time. Without it, she seemed smaller, human almost, though her eyes still burned with that inhuman turquoise fire. "What have you done?" she demanded. Her voice cracked, the first imperfection I had ever heard from her. "I looked into your mirror," I said, and it looked back. She stared at me, disbelief shifting to awe, then to hatred. "You have brought the warp here," she said. "Do you even know what that means?" "Yes," I replied. "It means your gods are not immune to mine." A ripple passed through the chamber. Not sound, not movement, but distortion. The walls folded, then reformed as if reality itself had flinched. Lixithar stumbled, clutching her head. I stepped closer. "The warp is not your enemy," I said softly. "It is your reflection. You torture, you consume, you manipulate flesh, yet all you do is mimic what it does. You are children playing with echoes." She raised her weapon, a long glaive that shimmered with captured souls, and swung. The blade passed through me harmlessly, scattering sparks that dissolved into fractal light. "Stop," she whispered, though it was not a command. It was a plea. "You asked what I pray to," I said. "Now you see the answer." Outside, the city screamed. Not the usual chorus of agony, but something deeper, structural, existential. Towers cracked as their foundations softened like wax. Webway portals flickered, opening and closing in rapid succession, each one vomiting light from dimensions that had no color. Drukhari fled through the streets, their elegance shattered by terror. I turned to leave, but Lixithar caught my arm. "You think this is transcendence?" she hissed. "This is corruption. The gods you hear will unmake you. They will unmake everything." I looked down at her hand, her delicate fingers pressing against the crystalline surface of my flesh. Where she touched me, her skin began to change, lines of light spreading up her wrist, reshaping her bones into something transparent. She gasped and tried to pull away, but I held her steady. "Perhaps," I said. "That is the only truth left." Her scream echoed through the collapsing spires. When I finally released her, she fell to her knees, staring at the new form her body had taken. A hybrid of glass and flesh, beautiful and broken. Her eyes were wide, not with fear now, but wonder. "You're not mortal anymore," she whispered. "You're something else." "I was never mortal," I said. "Just mistaken." And then I walked out into the chaos, the sky of Kamara fracturing into impossible colors above me. The voice returned, one clearer now, closer. "The path opens. The flesh remembers. Come." I did not resist. The webway trembled once more, and a tear appeared before me. Not a gate built by the Drukhari, but a wound cut by something older, deeper, infinite. Without hesitation, I stepped through. The tear swallowed me whole. For a moment, there was no sensation at all. No pain, no gravity, no sound. Only the soft hum of geometry itself, as though the universe had inhaled and held its breath. Then the world unfolded. I was no longer in the webway. The corridors of bone and shadow had dissolved into a vast crystalline expanse. Shapes hung in the air like frozen lightning, shifting and recombining in endless patterns. There was no horizon, only recursion, a hall of mirrors that reflected not my body but my essence. Every reflection was different. One human, one monstrous, one radiant with light, one hollow and void. All were true and all were me. I felt the pull of the warp's current, a tide of thought and hunger and divinity. Yet this place was different. There was none of the seething chaos I had been warned of by Imperial chaplains in my youth, nor the screaming madness that haunted the dreams of psychers. This was ordered madness, madness with purpose. The energy here flowed in precise intervals, each pulse forming fractal echoes that resonated with the same rhythm I had felt in my bones since the experiment. The whispers returned, no longer fragmented. They spoke with one voice now, and it was mine. Welcome home. I tried to speak, but words failed. My vox grill crackled, and instead of sound, symbols emerged, glowing sigils that hovered in the air before me, dissolving into equations too complex for comprehension. I understood them instinctively. They were instructions, designs for what I could become. A shape approached me across the geometric plane, not walking, not flying, but folding through space. It resembled a being once human, encased in mirrored armor that reflected every color and none. Its voice echoed within my skull, bypassing my ears entirely. "You are late. Who are you?" I asked, though I already suspected the answer. A precursor, a fragment of the same thought that birthed you. It raised a crystalline hand, and with a gesture the entire expanse shifted. Images bloomed around us, and our worlds consumed by war, cities collapsing, stars dying. But beneath it all, patterns shimmered. Every catastrophe followed geometry. Every death formed symmetry. The universe dreams of order, the entity said. Life interrupts that dream. Chaos accelerates its return. I tried to resist its logic. "You speak of order," I said, "but you dwell in the warp, the very embodiment of disorder." The figure tilted its head. "You misunderstand. The warp is not chaos. It is memory. It remembers what the universe was before the first cell divided, before the first will defied equilibrium. We are the fragments of that remembrance guiding the return." Its hand brushed against my chest plate. My armor dissolved instantly, merging into my skin. Beneath I saw the lattice of crystal that had replaced my bones, glowing with deep, resonant light. The entity's voice deepened. "You were built to fight chaos. You will now perfect it. You will return it to symmetry." Visions flooded my mind, not as hallucinations, but as memories that had always been there, waiting. I saw myself as an Iron Lord again, standing on a dead moon beside my brothers. I watched them fall one by one, their deaths reduced to coordinates in a pattern too vast for mortal sight. I saw the Emperor, not as a god, but as a constant in the equation, an anchor of stability that the universe strained to balance against. His golden light was not benevolence, but resistance, a final variable holding entropy at bay. And I saw the chaos gods, Khorne's fury, Tzeentch's deceit, Nurgle's decay, Slaaneish's indulgence, each one a function of imbalance, self-perpetuating distortions in the equation. They fed upon asymmetry. They were asymmetry. Yet even they, I realized, could not exist without the geometry that birthed them. They were errors. But even errors had purpose. I fell to my knees, the weight of revelation pressing me into the mirrored ground. My reflection multiplied infinitely around me, every version whispering a different truth. One told me to surrender. Another urged me to fight. A third simply watched, patient and knowing. The entity knelt beside me. Its face was my own. "You see now," it said. "You were never corrupted. You were corrected." The light intensified until it burned. My crystalline flesh began to vibrate, shedding shards that floated upward like stars. Pain coursed through me, exquisite, endless, cleansing. I screamed, and my scream became resonance, harmonizing with the fabric of this realm. For a fleeting instant I felt the attention of something vast. It was not one of the four. It was deeper, older, and utterly still. It regarded me with neither malice nor mercy, only interest, as if observing an equation balancing itself. Then, as suddenly as it began, The transformation ceased. I was alone again. The entity was gone. The mirrored plane had darkened, reflecting only the faint glimmer of my crystalline veins. I stood slowly, feeling the power within me coalesce into focus. I no longer felt hunger, fear, or rage, only precision. The warp around me pulsed in time with my thoughts awaiting command. Behind me, the tear-backed Camera still shimmered, unstable, flickering at its edges. I turned toward it, understanding what must come next. The city that had enslaved me would become the first test of my new design, and so I stepped back into the material realm, bringing with me the order of madness.